Welcome to Brain Health Besties, a human-forward podcast for those of us who want to feel better but don't know where to start. I'm Bailey, a licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Nia, a qualified mental health professional.
And I'm Shelby, a human.
We are so glad you're here. And we believe that you deserve to know how your brain works and how to nurture it, even when self-care feels a little challenging.
We focus on kindness to ourselves and recognizing our own needs with as little guilt as possible, because your brain deserves a bestie.
Stars in my eyes, I can't see which way is right, but oh, if there's one thing that I know, it's only up front.
Hey besties, the practices we talk about here are great for your brain, but this podcast isn't treatment. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Help is always available.
Hey, besties. Have you ever had that moment when you got home from a long day and sit down to rest, and then immediately you started feeling guilty for not having done more? Well, in today's Learning Together episode, we're going to talk about the idea of rest and the whole idea surrounding that it is beneficial. It is something that we need to recharge and to be able to continue on with our days. So follow along with us. And actually, to start off, when we talk about rest, I want to come to my friends. And we're going to talk about, if we could, take a little breath for us ourselves and do that check-in that we do. We use that 0 to 5 scale, actually. So who's going to go first? How
I'll
are
go
you guys
first.
feeling? Oh, Shelby was ready. Okay.
I was ready this time. I think I am probably at a 2 or 2.5, a little bit higher than I usually rate. But I'm extra glad we were talking about rest today because it is something my soul needs right now.
Yeah, I feel that. I am actually probably about a 1 right now. We just had some silly moments. Laughter is one of those things that always is pretty good predictor of bringing my rating down. So I'm feeling about a 1.
Yep, I agree. I'm going 1.5, but that's lower than it was before. But yes, the silliness and the laughter. And I will say, too, I'm excited to talk about rest, too, because I think it's one that, gosh, we don't get enough of. You know, you hear it a lot. So I'm ready.
Okay. Me too. And I think that some of the interesting things about rest and particularly this conversation, and I had this reflection when we were talking about rest before in preparation, is y'all, if I might embarrass myself a little bit with this, but when my phone battery gets to like 30-40%, I am already like aware that I need to find a charger, right? And then if that sucker gets to like 10%, I will shamelessly ask a stranger to borrow their charger. Already planning like, ooh, the battery's getting low. I probably need to recharge this sucker. But I cannot tell you how many times I will let my own battery, my own personhood get far below zero and continue to push through before I even think about resting or recharging at all. And so I think this is a really important topic just because we tend to think of rest as a reward and as something we get something when we accomplish this. And it's just, if we can think proactively and recharge before we get to zero, it's just so much better for our personhood, for our mental health, our physical health, and all of the above.
Yeah. I like how you're relating it to the phones. And when you were saying that, it made me think how much I need my phone, but it's for certain things. It's so my alarm goes off so I can get up and go to my workout. And also my house is all automated so I can get into my home. So again, if I let my phone battery die down, I don't do that because I need those things. So I love that analogy that we can't do that either.
Yeah, we can't function as well if we're on zero.
No, and truthfully, we live in a society where being tired is almost like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Being exhausted. I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had just this week where I've been like, man, I'm really tired. And somebody tries to one-up me and say, yeah, I only got 2 hours of sleep last night. like that's a good thing.
Yeah, like we're going to win an award for
Yes.
who is the most exhausted, right?
There is no gold star for who's the
No.
most tired.
No, but we also reward that. Like I think about our culture, you all, and the hustle culture. And I know, Shelby, you have mentioned this before. A lot of times we do our job and then we have all these side things. And if you're not making money from the side things, and how can I monetize my hobbies? I know we've talked.
That's a whole nother podcast episode.
It's true. Yeah. And then just thinking through, we live in a space where productivity is king, right? Like how
Or queen.
or queen. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
We live in a space where that's rewarded. And so we think, ooh, rest can only happen when all of those other things are done. And that's just not in our best interest.
No. Well, and truthfully, I think I've said that 3 times already this episode, but we're saying the truth here today,
We are.
besties.
We are.
We don't, like, there is no end to the to-do list for adults. There's just another thing. There's another thing. So if we say, I will rest when I'm done with this thing, we're just never going to get there.
Yeah, rest as a reward may sometimes work for kids, right? Because you can say when you get your chores done, when you get your homework done, because kids have a finite list. That might work for some families. But for adults, there is always something to do. There's always something else you could be doing. There's something you should be taking care of or could be taking care of. And so if we wait until the moment when the list is complete, we will never rest until our body demands that we do so.
Right. And besties, we're not just talking about rest as sleep today, right?
Yeah.
I think our resident research nerd is going to fill us in on some of the other types of rest that your body could be craving.
Yes, I will lovingly own that nerd title.
I said it with love.
Yeah, I believe it. I know you did. So I really love, and we've been talking about rest kind of on our team for a long time and talking to different groups about rest. But we really love diving into Dr. Dalton-Smith's work on rest. She has been studying rest and actually wrote the book Sacred Rest, and has a theory that there are 7 different types of rest. Because sometimes when we think of rest only being sleep, and I don't know if you all have had this moment where you could sleep for 10 hours and you wake up and you still feel just absolutely exhausted. It's a good chance, if we don't have something like a clinical diagnosis of depression or something, or there's something physically going on with our bodies, there's a good chance we're not getting the right type of rest. Maybe we're not needing that physical rest, but we're needing a different kind of rest. And so what her work really highlights is not just meeting the moment with rest, but meeting the moment with the right type of rest. And again, this is another one that we could dive into 7 different podcast episodes on the types of rest and how to kind of meet that moment and fulfill those things. I think what is maybe a good thing to think of when we think about rest as either just being sleep, or where kind of all these messages come around hustle culture, and we tend to have beliefs about rest. What I'm curious about is where your all's beliefs about rest come from. Like what does that stem from for you? And what are your beliefs?
Yeah. Before we really started talking about this podcast episode, I don't know if I ever really reflected on it. It was just something that was kind of ingrained in me. Growing up, my family is a family shaped by a farm, right? And even though my parents didn't live on the farm, there were things that were just ingrained. Like you got up before work and you did chores, and then you went to work or school, and then you came home and you did more chores. And on top of that, my brother and I were over involved in sports and different things at school. And so there was always just something going on. So it was just always like you kept going until it was done, and it was never done. So you just kept going. But the more I reflected on it, the more I also realized that, like, yes, that's true. And every Saturday, my parents have almost a designated nap time.
Yeah.
Like every Saturday afternoon, they go take a nap with no guilt. And and I internalized that and didn't really realize it. But that's kind of where mine, I think, comes from.
Yeah.
Outside of the current culture, hustle culture.
Yeah, mine was similar, but I think different. I think growing up, I was certainly in stuff, but maybe not as much as others were. I had more of the choir and student council and whatever else, swimming and things like that. And we were busy, I would say, but I don't remember really feeling too busy, I guess. Both my parents worked, but I don't remember yeah, I guess that extra busyness around everything. But I will say that now in my adult life, I think I really sat down with myself one day and was really thinking about the things that I wanted to fit in my day and to still have energy with all those things. So for me, as the adult I am, I happen to be oldest on the team too. I don't know if I needed to say that, but anyway, I'm oldest on the team. But to be able to get in my workout that I like, to be able to have energy throughout the day, I really have a set time that I've realized that I needed. And sometimes maybe I do, if I've done extra, maybe the weekend has a whole bunch more in it, or a whole bunch more moving around. I remind myself that it's probable that my physical body could use a little bit of rest, as well as, of course, my brain and everything else. So I just kind of schedule that in.
Yeah.
So I think it's just getting to know myself now as at the age I am, and try to fit all those things in a day.
Just hearing you both reflect on kind of your beliefs around rest and where that comes from is enlightening for me, because I think about the different messages that I received and internally who I am as a personality as well. I grew up in a working class family where my parents worked really hard to make ends meet, and there was not a lot of rest. My mom was really great at telling everybody else to rest, but never rested herself. So although she was encouraging rest, a lot of times I did not see her herself resting. And we get messages, I think, about grad school and how everything is just push through these 3 years and then you can rest. It's going to be hard. And these spaces where we are regularly told that, rest is great, but it's also a luxury, right? And so internalizing a lot
Or a commodity.
Yes. Internalizing a lot of those messages. But similarly to you and your reflection with your parents, Shelby, I also distinctly remember, coming together as a family and my extended family for big meals and everybody watching football and closing their eyes, right? Where everybody's just resting their eyes and everybody's falling asleep on the couch, right?
Yep.
So having just these mixed messages and personally as an individual, rest sometimes feels really uncomfortable. Sometimes I feel really guilty about sitting down and resting. Sometimes when I do sit down, I get restless and I'm like, ooh, what should I be doing or what could I be doing instead? We were kind of joking around about how I'll sit for a second, and especially if it's a pretty day out and I'm like, oh, I could, go outside and paint the house, or I could wash the windows, or maybe I'll start that art project I keep meaning to do. And so sometimes allowing myself to get over the discomfort of just sitting and being takes a minute and takes a conscious effort, actually.
Yeah, I know that I've heard people talk about rest. They're sometimes afraid to rest because then someone might say, "You're lazy. You could have been doing this. What? Don't you care about everybody else?" And that is just disappointing to me because the rest is the thing. And again, rest, when we talk about rest, I think maybe we can talk a little bit more about what that could look like. Sometimes maybe people are thinking that to rest, you need, again, that long nap or you need this amount of time away from work or whatever it is. But it could be anything that really fits you. It could be something as simple as maybe you work from your home office, or maybe it's an office that you go into, but just stepping away, right? Maybe you've had a big, long meeting and you're just feeling your eyes are tired, or your brain is tired. Maybe it's something at home. There's a lot of activity going on, and just being able to step aside. Maybe you can find a quiet space. Maybe you can sit maybe with the lights out, and it could really be as long as 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and you might be surprised. So being able to remember that it's just small things if we can, and the big things are fantastic as well.
Yeah, that actually, I was listening to a podcast this last week for something else I was preparing for. And the guest was Dr. Mark Berman, and he does all this research on how nature is essentially restorative. And he was doing this study and sending students out into nature after trying to do a task where they were highly focused. And what they found is even a short duration in nature, even when the students reported that they did not enjoy being in nature, there were times that they were out and it was like 25 degrees outside and it was miserable. But even then, on average, they saw a 20% increase in productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And we are often, and I even hate attaching productivity to rest just because we, as a culture and society, prioritize productivity so much. But when we allow our brains to rest in whatever ways work for us, even if they're micro moments, it actually increases our ability to focus. It increases our ability to reset and recharge and be more productive, to think more creatively. And so it's not, if we think of rest not as a reward, but as restoration.
Definitely.
It is, it's actually part of the word restoration, then we can kind of flip that script a little bit. And it's like, ooh, actually to be my most productive, to be the best version of me, I need that 2-minute recharge. I need, sometimes we don't get a phone charger for 30 minutes to recharge. Right. Sometimes we have 5 minutes and we're like, I will get what I can on this battery to keep doing what I need to do. And so I think exactly what you're saying, Nia, those long spots of time are incredible when we can find them. And also sometimes we don't have the luxury of having a whole weekend or the evening to just rest. And so we have to find those little micro moments.
Yeah.
And those are important. And those are things that can be kind of built into our day. I am curious how you guys build rest into your day in those little micro moments, whether it's at work or it's with your family or at home, whatever situation you're in.
I have a standing desk at work, and I use it a lot. Did that on purpose. That was something that I felt would help with my day. But I do find when I do certain tasks, I do like to sit down. So again, most of the day I'm standing up at my standing desk. But if I'm doing something, which for me is kind of rest, and it's reading, I do a lot of research, and I like to actually print it out and have the paper, and I sit down and I literally take out my highlighter and my so sitting down, just finding those moments. And then the other one I think is just maybe visiting with somebody else, in their office, and being able to, we do work in an office place, and we actually have a trail that's real close to our office, which trying to schedule that in with a friend to walk on the trail. And I think again, just being able to step away from whatever the project is, just kind of put my mind on something else for a little while, are all ways that I do it, certainly around work.
Yeah. I'm kind of smiling as you're talking about all these ways that you rest, because Shelby and I, it was not our original idea. Somebody else at our organization a leader started instituting floor time with her people. And we were kind of laughing and joking about it. And there was a time where Shelby came into my office for us to meet, and she was like, I need floor time. And I was like, okay. So, which meant we were literally just kind of laying on the floor at a perpendicular angle, and just laid there for a minute. And it had been a big day with lots of things going on. And after a few minutes of just laying there, then just kind of easing into conversation, but quite literally just needing to lay on the floor and rest for a moment. We weren't sleeping. We weren't but we were just taking a rest.
Yeah.
Highly recommend floor time, by the way. It was fantastic.
I know we've come up with a couple people now that have had floor time. So floor time is a thing.
Yeah. If you can lay on your floor, go for it.
If you can. Yeah.
I think other things for me, nature is always one that I go to. If I can get, even if it is just 30 seconds to step out the doors and take a few deep breaths, it can, especially after staring at a computer screen for hours on end, it can be a huge reset. It also depends on what kind of rest I'm needing, though, because there are other days where our job is highly social, where we are with a lot of people, and I need social rest. I need to step away and not people for a little bit, whether that be reading or sitting in a quiet space or listening to music. I need to not be socially on.
And I think that's really important as we're coming up on the holiday season and the Burr months, where things tend to get a little hectic with our schedules and kind of out of line, is that it's okay to say no to social engagements if you need rest, if you need that social rest.
Yeah.
And trying to do that with as little guilt as possible is really important.
Well, and I think even if we can't say no, asking or being, because there are certain things where maybe it's not acceptable or saying no, it's not an option. How do we then build rest into the bookends of that? Like, I know we're going to have this big gathering and there's going to be lots of people and I'm going to need the rest. How can I build in rest beforehand, and how can I build in rest afterwards to help myself restore before the next big thing, or asking family, hey, I have dinner with this side of the family on this day. Can we do ours, 2 days later? Just trying to make it so that we can still get that rest too, if we can't say no.
Yeah. Just being intentional about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think the last little bit that we kind of jumped ahead here, but with the hows, how do you know? How do you know when you are deserving some rest, when your brain and body is really deserving that?
I think it's probably different for all of us, and then all of the people who are listening and watching too. But I think for me personally, it would probably be, I would say my distraction kind of turns its dial up. It's easier to get distracted. Kind of not finishing the project, right? That's telling me there's something a little bit off. And probably if I were, if my temperament were a little bit shorter, I don't have that patience with people. I'm a person who I think is doing well by my body, the nutrients that I give it. So it's not too often that I have a energy drain. But more for me, it would be kind of those mental things, which would allow me to know that I probably, there's something that I'm going to need, and rest would be certainly on the top of the list.
Yeah, I think I have a really recent example actually. It hit me like a freight train last week that I needed rest. I was driving into the office and I just felt terrible about it. Didn't want to be there. I wanted to be anywhere else. And I hate feeling like that because I love my job and I love what we do and I love seeing the people at the office and all the things. And so it just was a very visceral, wow, you need something that is restful.
It was out of your norm. It was out of your norm.
Yes. Yep. It was something different. It was something that really assaulted my sense of everything because I really, truly do love my job. Yeah. Bailey, please remember that. For those of you that don't know, Bailey's my boss. But yeah, it's just that being out of norm and kind of out of whack really hit me.
Yeah. I think I'm somewhere in between. Irritability, I notice things a lot with focus too. I am really bad in those moments about when I can't focus, being like, if I just try harder, I'll be able to focus. And I try to force it to happen, when the reality is if I just took the rest that I needed for a few minutes, I could probably be a way better human. But irritability is another one, especially socially. And when I'm needing that social rest, is I get grumpy with the people that I care about the most and maybe don't have as much grace. I get cynical. So yeah, those are kind of my warning signs. I've gotten better as I've gotten older of recognizing that. When I was younger, I had a really hard time knowing I would just kind of burn the candle at both ends. And when I was a puddle on the floor, I'd be like, I think I need some time.
Well, like anything else, it's a practice, right? We have to learn how to listen and tune into our bodies and our brains and be willing to give ourselves what we need without or with as little guilt and judgment as possible.
Yeah. Well, and I know we already talked about the how, but we really want to practice with our besties. Y'all, if you follow up on the next episode, on episode 26, we'll be doing a journaling exercise on engaging in a little bit of mental rest. So please join us for the next episode so that we can practice rest together. Take care and be well. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to Brain Health Besties so you can find us in the future.
And since sharing is kind, share us with your besties.
If you have mental health or wellness topics you'd like us to chat about, please reach out to bewell@livebrightly.org.
Until next time, be well, besties.
Shining brighter than the sun.